Hello and welcome to another episode of Standing Stanley Tucci. I'm a huge Stan fan. My name's David.
And I'm Hannah, and wow, our last Tooch was tough. That was a toughie. This one was a lot more interesting.
Yeah, see, last time we did jury duty and Tucci played a juror, but in this one, he's assistant district attorney. And he's sort of a baddie in this one too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty typical for the 90s, but this is Kiss of Death. It's the 1995 remake of a Hollywood film from 1947. It was sort of an obscure film. I'm not sure exactly what made them want to remake it.
It was actually a box office flop. Like, it did not make back its initial investment.
So, my personal theory, since I can't find any like write-ups on the production of this obscure 95 film, go figure, my guess is that Nick Cage was the guy who made this thing happen. So somebody came to him with a pitch like, hey, there's this great, old Hollywood noir kind of gangland movie about, lawyers and wearing a wire and going to the cops. This is The Wire. Was it out yet? Was
no.
Well, NYPD Blue was big, hence the David Caruso.
Wait. We'll get to the cast in a second.
But I think Nick Cage was the guy who pushed for this because he related to the character. In the original, his name was Tommy Udo, and he was just like a hired hitman who had some weird quirks. He was sort of like a Joker kind of guy, like Batman Joker, and he had an inhaler, and he would always like suck on the inhaler, and he'd have this cackling sort of laugh. And I think he liked that character, who then got adapted into Nick Cage's character, which combined a couple elements from other characters from the original, and he became Little Junior, who Cage describes as like a big baby. He's like a big stupid baby. And I think that's what made the film really come together, is this kind of psychopathic son of a mob boss who then takes over after his dad dies.
Yeah.
And vindictively goes after David Caruso's character, who's just just a guy trying to survive, trying to do right by his family, a good hardworking criminal.
Yeah. So the cast list for just stars is kind of all over the place. Helen Hunt plays David Caruso's wife. Right. And David Caruso, obviously, for those who don't quite recognize the name, it's the CSI Miami guy. That's him.
Right. But before that, he was the NYPD Blue guy. And that was a critically acclaimed sort of show. And he was trying to launch his film career, which obviously did not take off because he ended up...
David, but everyone our age and younger only knows him as the CSI Miami guy. Yeah.
Well, I'm older, maybe. Maybe our parents mainly know him as that. Anyway, like we said, Tucci, he plays this
district attorney,
crooked DA, but he's actually an assistant DA who is trying to take down some mob guys, and so he's trying to get all of the little guys to flip, make deals so they rat on him. But there's honor among thieves, so it's difficult to get them to do that. And so he's just kind of playing like a shady lawyer, and I think that's a good role for him because he's classy, but he's also kind of shady, He's perception in the 90s.
He's got that perfect political sleazy charm to him where you want to kind of trust the things he's saying, but you also get the vibe that he's like a huge asshole.
His character's name is Frank Zioli, which all the characters' names are different than they were in the original film. But he was also, Italian in that film, but I think played by a non-Italian actor.
So Italian rep, unlike today with Chris Pratt as Mario. I mean, what are we even doing?
What about Stan Tucci as Mario? He just comes in and he's like, yes, I'd like a super mushroom, please.
David, this is what I'm telling you. Stanley Tucci should play Mario. Like, that is justice for Tucci.
Yep.
He'd be incredible.
Yeah, so why don't we jump into the plot of the film, and we'll bring up any other actors who appear as they.
You're just leaving our whomst we also tantalizingly in your backgrounds.
I know.
All right, so we kick off with David Caruso getting called in for one last job by
Michael Rapaport, who at one point was cast as these like young mobster guys. But now is very much not, and is, I guess, known for his comedy, maybe for being on podcasts, and also for, playing like TV dads. But whatever.
Yeah, but he's
one last gig because they're gonna kill me, man. They're gonna kill me.
Yeah.
So he's just got to be the driver. So they're pulling some kind of job that requires a bunch of truck drivers, and he's driving a truck.
They're stealing a bunch of cars and putting them on a ship.
Yeah, they're transporting the things. They've already stolen them. They're already hot. So they go to do the job, but the guy that they originally hired to be the driver is still there, and he's drunk off his ass, can't do the job. So that's when pissed off Nicolas Cage bursts on the scene, literally shoving his beefy arm into frame and grabbing Michael Rapaport by the throat.
I gotta say, Nick Cage is bulked up for this role.
He's as bulky as he has ever been. We're talking Con Air sort of build, but with just this awful goatee. It's the ugliest.
It's
ruining goatee.
Primo Nick Cage.
and it's quite a Nick Cage performance, honestly.
He's
I'm gonna kill you, Michael Rapaport. I'm gonna kill you, Ronnie. And then he goes to kill the drunk guy. But the honorable, the wonderful David Caruso, like, he's like, I gotta save him. So he puts him in the car with him, but he wakes up in the middle of them doing the job. And then, panics, pulls out a gun and shoots at a cop. At which point, David Caruso tries to block the bullet. So again, he's the good criminal. The criminal you root for.
He puts his hand in front of a gun.
Right. And the cop who pulls them over is none other than Samuel L. Jackson, which I believe this is the first time that he's... No, wait. Was there one where he appeared with Tucci before?
I don't think so. I think this is the first.
Yeah, you're right. It is. Correct me if I'm wrong. If he was somewhere in the background in one of the movies we already talked about.
Didn't you see him in The Vicious Circle?
I was thinking another one of the mob movies, but Samuel L. Jackson, and he gets shot right in the face, and then there's a great shot where they're both being brought into the hospital because David Caruso's now got a big stupid hole in his hand, and he just looks over at him like, you piece of shit. You're going down for this hard. It's, even though you tried to stop that guy from shooting, you were part of the job, so you're going down for a long time. But David Caruso, he's got his own lawyer. He's like a shady mob lawyer type. And he's like, yeah, we can get you down to 2 years. It's like, 2 years? Like, you can't, get me probation or something, or time served or anything. And so he's got to leave behind his wife and kid with no income. But of course, the mob takes care of their own, right, Anna?
Well, they're supposed to.
Well.
But scumbag Ronnie comes back into the picture.
Ronnie.
And, he's supposed to pay him out of his own pocket. $400
a week.
He's pocketing $250 and only giving them $150 a week, so that he can take advantage of David Caruso's hot wife, played by Helen Hunt.
Yeah. So this is like sort of textbook from the, you know, original movie. It, you know, this guy who we thought he could trust takes advantage of the situation, and then you know, trigger warning, sexual assault, he goes and rapes his wife.
Is it definitely
Yes.
rape? Okay,
it
that
definitely is. She was completely like passed out.
Okay.
He gets her
Basically,
drunk and
he
then
gets her
drives
drunk.
her back to his place, and then rapes her. In the original movie, they didn't show anything. You don't even like meet the character. Like her part got cut out, and so you just hear somebody say like, "Hey, yeah, so the guy that you trusted to take care of your wife, turns out he raped her." And then in the original, she commits suicide. In this one, instead of committing suicide, they went with she's still kind of groggy and, you know,
freaked out.
She was just, you know, traumatized, and she gets in a car and drives out in the street, gets hit by a truck. So, you know, Caruso goes to the funeral. He, you know, he sees Ronnie there. He's like, "Hey, Ronnie, what was she doing driving your car? What was she doing there?" And then he finds out that, you know, what he did. And like, I guess as far as he knows, he just slept with his wife and then his wife died. But I mean, yeah,
still bad.
Who would sleep with Michael Rappaport voluntarily? So, sorry.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, he knows, like, you know, his wife would not cheat on him.
Yeah.
So he knows that Ronnie is a rat and he's a rapist and he's a bad person.
Yeah. So he basically makes a deal with he makes a deal with Stanley Tucci, and he gives him everyone except for Ronnie, you know, and he's like, "Oh, you better pick me up on this too, otherwise, you know,
they're gonna think I'm a rat."
Exactly. So he games the system a little bit to make everyone think that Ronnie's the rat, that it's Ronnie.
I mean, so this is the premise of basically the whole movie, is that, you know, he's put in this tough situation because he went down for this job, and he can't just rat on people, but he wants those people who put him in jail to suffer. So it's about the relationship between mob loyalty and mob honor codes and truth and justice and righteousness.
I don't even think it's so much about mob honor codes. That's the thing. Like, I think it's more so that he was willing to go down for the mob. Then the mob sleeps with his wife and he's like, "Fuck the mob, but I also don't want to get killed." And then it's the tension between him not wanting to get killed and like protecting his family.
No, you're right. And it's about the way that the legal system like doesn't care about the good guys, the good criminals. You know, it just sees all of crime as like a way to improve their careers. And everyone in, like, from the cops to the feds, everybody is like, and also all the lawyers are all just out for themselves. Whereas, you know, David Caruso, he's put it right in the middle because he's disposable.
Right.
So I think it's a great little narrative that we're weaving, and like I can totally see why Tucci would want to be a part of it. And like we said, like his performance is stellar. And I'm thinking that he got brought on the project because of his previous work with Nick Cage. Because again, I think Nick Cage was a big, you know, crafter of this film, and I don't think any of the producers are overlapping between this and It Could Happen to You.
Sure.
But this was, Nick Cage shot this film and the last film back to back. So either like he had some pull or something, or it's just there's a limited casting pool in New York.
Maybe they had their agents knew each other or something.
Yeah. Maybe they had similar representation. I mean, yeah, it's New York. It's his home turf. But,
and it's another mob movie.
And it's another mob movie, so he's in all of those.
You know, the mob finds out Ronnie's snitching. He's not, but for the sake of this, he's snitching. And so Nick Cage comes and beats him to death and kills him.
In like a pretty insanely humorous way. They all come in wearing these ponchos, and Michael Rapaport is just like,
he's like,
what's going on? You guys going pontoon boating or something?
Fishing?
You guys going on a whaling? Anyway, so they like close all the blinds, and they hold him down, and he puts on this fingerless glove, and he flexes it, and he's like, he beats him to death right there while playing on the boombox. What song is playing?
Oh my gosh, it's something. It's Jump Around. That's what
Jump
it
Around.
is.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the 90s,
But it's like the point is that it's humorously, it's humorously bizarre that he would be playing that song while beating a man to death. Great scene.
Yeah.
And it speaks to exactly that, like, he's playing this character who in the original was just like a hired hitman who delighted in killing people.
Mm-hmm.
In the original movie, there's like a scene where he like ties up a woman in a wheelchair with like an extension cord and then pushes her down the stairs, like just like a real sicko. And so Nick Cage is trying to embody that part of it, but he's also like a dumb guy.
He's so dumb. He's great.
Yeah, the first time we see him, or like one of the first times that we see him like hanging with his dad in their strip club, he's like lifting a woman over his head, like benching her. And
he's like, Dad, I'm gonna get to 40. Watch me.
His dad, by the way, played by Philip Baker Hall. I don't know where I know him from exactly, but like you see him everywhere.
Yeah.
He was in that Seinfeld episode where he was the librarian detective guy. He plays an old man in a Modern Family episode that I remember very strongly, but he's just in everything.
Meanwhile, parole time, he's up. David Caruso gets to get out, and he's fallen in love with his former babysitter who's been looking after his daughter. And they get married, and things are gonna be okay. But then Stanley Tucci, on his last day in prison, comes over and is like, "Listen, I want more names. Give them to me." He's like, "No way." And he's like, "Okay, then I guess maybe you'll maybe we'll charge you for another thing.
You gotta be an informant." And he's got to do it because he wants to protect his kid, and he wants to make money for his kid, and he needs something.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that earlier when he gave up names, he specifically didn't want to be let out of prison because then everybody would know he would, be in on it. So instead he requested to go see his daughter, who was living up in Buffalo with his sister-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when it cuts to the future, they have like a decent relationship. They can visit each other, they see each other. Whereas if he had just like wrote a letter saying like, "Hey, I'm in prison, I want to see my daughter," like that's not going to work.
Right.
So they make him a paid informant.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got to go undercover. They want Little Junior. They want Nick Cage. And you see all these like crazy things that he's doing at this point. Like when he's like at the strip club.
His father dies, so he's in mourning. And go ahead.
I don't know. I don't even remember exactly when this scene happens, but he's in the strip club, and there's a guy like harassing one of the dancers.
Oh no, this happens after that. Okay.
Right. So I don't remember when this scene is, but I'm just saying like we're spending a lot of time with this Nick Cage Little Junior guy.
Yeah.
And one of the scenes is he sees this harasser, and then he says, "Put your hand on the table. Which hand you touch her with? Put it on the table." And then you think he's gonna like break his wrist or light a cigarette on his hand. And then he says, "How could we show you what it feels like to be one of these dancers and see all of the
You think this job's easy?"
Every day.
And like he's right. He's got a point. Like he's a criminal with a point.
Him strip down to his underwear and go dance on stage.
I think it's incredible. I think any man misbehaving at a strip club should have to have a similar punishment.
Right. But it's also like a total dumb guy, like response to this. Like he thinks he's such a badass, you know, he thinks he's like the master of everything. And he's like totally in control, but he's just like a goofy, like fail son kind of guy who's just like, yeah, you go strip for us. Yeah, I mean that's also reinforced when he tells he tells David Caruso his nickname for himself, his acronym.
Yeah.
Which is BAD. What was it? Balls. Shit, I didn't write it down. What does it stand for?
It's like balls.
Balls, adrenaline, desire, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, God, I really need to look it up, but I don't know how to. Maybe it's in quotes. Oh yeah, there it is. It's so much better than I thought it was. I have an acronym for myself. Know what it is? BAD. Balls, attitude, direction.
Yes. Very good. Very good.
And then he says, you should give yourself an acronym because it helps you visualize your goals. He's like doing The Secret. It's so good. Oh my God. And then David Caruso is like, oh, mine's FAB, fuck the birth. And
he's like, no good.
It's too negative. Like he's taking it so seriously, like giving notes like they're best buds when secretly he's wearing a wire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and Samuel L. Jackson requests to be put on his case
as his like field agent supervisor.
Yeah. And he like drags him out to like the middle of nowhere and then starts like just beating him up. No,
that's when they go take him to see his daughter.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was earlier.
Okay.
When they first meet, he takes him out to the pier or something, and then just starts beating him. And he's just like, well, you know,
cops.
I guess I got to take it because he's a cop. I can't fight back.
Yeah, this movie is pretty anti-cop. But
I mean, at the same time, Samuel L. Jackson, you know, he explains his motivation and it makes a lot of sense. You know, he's like, you know, I can't hear in this ear. I can't see in this eye.
I can't take my kids to the beach.
I can't go to the beach without the sun like making me have like searing headaches and like pain. Because it was like it went like by his brain, you know, like his like nerves are all screwed up now. So I mean, he's really mad at David Caruso.
Doesn't mean you should get to beat him up.
No. And so he's on that case and he's like, you know, I chose to be assigned to you, but now he's like monitoring him like while he's on the wire. And so if he has to like rip it off because they're going to check him for a wire, he's like, if you take that wire off again, I'll kill you myself. So he's like between a rock and a hard place. It's so tough. Anyway, shit goes really bad when Ving Rhames shows up. Ving goddamn Rhames, who went to school with Stanley Tucci and who Stanley Tucci claims he gave his nickname, because before that he was Irving Rhames, and that would not have been as badass a name. So Ving Rhames shows up to buy some hot cars, some stolen vehicles, and he's like, I won't buy anything in red, you know. Red's a bad luck color. Well, we can paint it. No, it'll still be red underneath. It's a great performance. But then Nick Cage like freaks out on him and just shoots him dead, and says like, when you mess with the bull, you get the horns. And of course David Caruso, like wearing a wire, is like, oh my God, you killed him. What did you do? You killed him, which is like, it's obvious. It should be obvious he's wearing a wire at that point, but you know, whatever. Anyway, so they get the tape, but shit goes wrong. You want to explain what happens next?
Yeah, so you know, he goes to make a phone call and then gets kidnapped by Ving Rhames's like goons, and he's like, ah, shit, I'm gonna go get killed, like, damn it. Then they pull into this warehouse where a bunch of guys in suits are. Turns out he was a federal agent undercover.
What? But they didn't tell the NYPD investigation, and so it's the oldest like story in the cop book is like the CIs come in and they're like trying to mess with local police and local district attorneys.
Yeah.
And so they want to run it as a federal case. They take it to court, and the shady mobbler comes in and is just like, listen, he was a federal agent. My client didn't know he was a federal agent. What if that federal agent was doing things inappropriately? I want you guys to reveal if he was on any medications, or if he put any guns on the streets when he was pretending to be a dealer. And then the feds are like, this is going to look really bad for me as a federal bureaucracy for the FBI. If we ended up contributing to a lot of crime on the streets, attempts to get the mob,
criminals, right,
or organized crime. So they drop the case against like the most clear evidence that this guy is a murderer and killed Ving Rhames.
Right. And so David Caruso is like, what the hell? They've got him in like witness protection, and they're like moving him. He's in Atlantic City, then they're upstate. And while they're upstate, I guess someone from the mob finds his daughter, steals her, and writes B-A-D across her forehead.
Yeah, I don't even know. Maybe this was like from the original film or something. I'm not sure, but like it doesn't make sense, because like you should probably want to actually kidnap her unless you think you can't get away because there's too many cops or something. But in any case, it's like a really bizarre thing to do. It is something Nick Cage would do.
It's something his character would certainly do, because he's again
so stupid to
crazy.
Just write it with periods between each of the letters, so it looks like the acronym for balls, attitude, direction.
So it's acronym, but he keeps calling it acronym, which is great. It's his acronym.
Great film. So it ends with like a big action climax, right?
Mm-hmm.
But first, the feds talk to Stanley Tucci, right? And this is his big scene. He's eating a hot dog.
Yeah.
He's owning the scene.
Oh yeah, he's outside the courthouse.
The narrative by simply saying, "Wow, you guys screwed up this case this bad. Wow, you guys must suck." And it's like, I'm gonna just pursue it anyway. I'm gonna get him locked up, And
if
it's good for me,
right? And if you weren't doing it, sorry. Like if that evidence comes to light, no, it's not on me.
Yeah. How does that
by the book?
Me? And then he's like, all right, what do you want? It's like, what do I want? I want a federal judgeship, which is the ballsiest move. I mean, talk about balls, attitude, direction. Am I right? He should have the acronym BAD, because he just goes from assistant DA to federal judge just by saying like, look, I'm going to tell everybody what you did. You federal agent who could easily have me killed. Anyway, so that's what's going on there. David Caruso confronts Stanley Tucci about it and is like, what are you doing? You're going to get me and my family killed. And he's like, hey, that's no skin off my nose.
You're expendable.
Yeah, basically, which is exactly what it's about.
And David Caruso
of the criminal class.
Right. So at this point, David Caruso and Samuel L. Jackson have sort of bonded. They've trauma bonded a little over the fact that, David Caruso clearly cares for his daughter, and Samuel L. Jackson can relate to that. And, he sees that Caruso really is trying his best to do this. He's on the ground with him. So they've developed a little.
He's got to convince him to help him. But, he's seen that Caruso is not really that bad a guy since then, and Samuel L. Jackson becomes an unlikely partner in crime fighting for David Caruso. And so Caruso calls him, is like, all right, I tell you what, we got to end this. You know, how fast can you get to the strip club? And he goes down there and then gets Nick Cage to beat him up and then, you know, confess to all these crimes. Like a recording of like just a tape that he had. It's not like a legitimate wire that he's wearing, but he's got it. He goes up to Stan Tucci with it, says, you think this is enough to convict? And Stan Tucci's like, I don't know, maybe it's not enough to convict. You know, a jury could claim that he didn't actually want to kill you, and he didn't actually kill Omar. You know, what is he talking about there? It's ambiguous when it's really not ambiguous. And then he's like, well, how's this for ambiguous? And he pulls out a recording of their conversation from earlier.
Oh shit!
To dropping a case in order to get a federal judgeship. And
he's like, how do you think the papers are like that? And Tucci's like, hey, hold up a minute. Like, don't do anything crazy. And he's like, I will take this to the newspapers forthwith, sir.
Yeah. So a very complex plot, a lot of different parts, but it's reminiscent of a lot of the other mob movies of the time. So I don't think, you know, I'm not surprised it didn't get the sort of acclaim of, I don't know.
It's like, it's too complex, you know, there's not like a clear arc to it. The characters don't necessarily grow or change. It's just kind of like,
it's
complication,
more or less like the 47 version, and we're not into those kinds of movies as much anymore. You know, you can call a movie Kiss of Death in those times and just have like a lady on the front and a guy, and then you imply that it's like an action romance drama, whatever, and people are like, all right, I'll go see that.
Like, there's no real kissing in this movie. It's just a lot of death.
Yeah, I mean, the relationship with his sister-in-law is really downplayed. I mean, they kind of cut awkwardly from like a conversation to them having already slept together. It's just like Helen Hunt was my wife, she died. Anyway,
but yeah, so that's the movie. Nick Cage is an absolute fucking treat in this movie. I would recommend it, you know.
So that's your whomst we also for this.
It might be my whomst
we also him in the last movie.
I don't know. I mean Samuel L. Jackson is obviously just like the top tier, but like Nick Cage's performance, I think for me, just put him over the top this time around.
I would probably say I'm gonna go really obscure, which is what I do when there's a big cast. And I'm gonna go with Kevin Corrigan, who was cast as Kid selling stolen infinity. And you may know him from his role in The Departed, but I know him from NBC's Community, where he plays
the Professor
Sean Garrity.
Oh my God, that's why I recognize that guy. That's so funny.
So he appears in just one brief scene where he says, I heard from some guy on the inside that
you do hot cars.
Stolen cars. And yeah, he very, you know, soon after this would be in The Departed, and then would much later get cast in Community as like a drama professor who gets involved in a conspiracy that also involves cops shooting people. So, you know.
So it all comes around.
And then also he teaches the class on Nick Cage, good or bad.
That's so true. Oh my gosh. I bet he has a lot of opinions, having worked with him previously.
That's my whomst wheels.
Incredible.
Was there anyone else we missed on the cast who needs recognition?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I'm just looking at the cast right now.
No, I think we got everybody.
I think we got. Yeah.
All right. So do we have any Tucci news for this week?
Yes and no. It's not like current news, but
I mean, it's September. We're recording this in September. This is the September cover issue of the in-flight magazine for Virgin Atlantic, which is known as Vera. or Vera. I'm actually not sure. And they did a cover story on him, so I thought we would read some selections from that. Hannah, do you want to start?
Am I just going from the beginning?
Sure. And then we'll cut around it.
Hollywood is fickle. You can never tell what's going to work out. Stanley Tucci knows that better than most. Over a career of nearly 40 years, he has done it all. There have been indie classics, Margin Call, megawatt comedy, The Devil Wears Prada. I would not call The Devil Wears Prada a megawatt comedy.
Why not? It's funny.
It's funny, but like, is comedy its like main?
I think so.
Like, okay. Anyway, Oscar-winning drama Spotlight, globe-conquering sci-fi The Hunger Games, Marvel monoliths Captain America the First Avenger, and extravagant flops Jack the Giant Slayer.
Right. I mean, they're just basically going over why we picked Tucci as a subject in the first place, is that he does so many different kinds of films. We're not really seeing too much of that yet. I mean, we've seen like family comedy and, goofy action comedy, and we've seen period drama, mob drama, and mob action, basically.
Yeah, he's definitely sort of shoehorned at this point, and a little bit mostly more confined
as criminals, as the criminal element,
right?
But he's definitely he's got variety to come. That's for sure. Things that he's never done before. He's done stage and song and documentary. He's been nominated for every award going and won most of them. To his millions of admirers, Tucci has long been one of the most welcome on-screen presences. Dry, wry, and spry, which I love that. I'm gonna use that. Able to conjure an ocean of warmth and intelligence with an impish glance.
For all that, however, he has never quite crossed over from that guy from that thing to leading man. I'm the guy where producers will say, we love him, but we're going to come to him once we cast the lead, Tucci says, with one of his frequent laughs. I'm not the guy they need to make the movie.
It's true. I mean, like, a movie would be made with or without him. So we can't blame any of like his bad movies on him.
Right.
But we can blame all of his successes on him, which is good. On a warm morning in Barnes, West London, near where Tucci lives with his wife, Felicity Blunt, and their 2 young children, he gives every impression of a man with reasons to be cheerful. His favorite restaurants are open. Travel is getting easier. The sun is shining.
Lockdown ended up being okay, he says. There was the horror and the confusion of so many people getting sick and dying. I haven't seen my parents for 2 years, but I got a lot done. We made do. In some ways, he says, the simpler life of cooking, working, and hanging out with his family was a vision of the way life should be.
What's more, despite COVID halting film and TV production around the world, Tucci is emerging from these strange months with his reputation not only intact, but enhanced. At 60, an age when other actors are moving into the autumn of their career, Tucci's star has never been brighter. As the new virus stalked the planet, Tucci twice managed to go unexpectedly viral himself. That's a bad pun. In March last year, he posted a clip Blunt filmed of him making a Negroni in their kitchen at home. Whether it was thanks to his familiar gravelly voice, measured cadences, twinkling eye, large biceps, or simple lockdown delirium, the video blew up. It received millions of views. The Guardian ran an article entitled, "Why is Stanley Tucci making a Negroni so hot?" Suddenly he wasn't just an actor, he was a lifestyle.
I don't know what happened, he says. It was so weird. I made this video and my wife told me to put it up on Instagram. All of a sudden, it was everywhere, and everyone was saying I was a sexy bartender. I was like, boy, people are desperate. They were at home and the liquor stores weren't shut.
I've been around a long time, but people have never really seen me at home. So I think they saw a different side. He offers by way of more sober explanation for the clip's popularity. I think they liked seeing someone trying to have fun during lockdown. 2 months later, Tucci wrote an article for American Magazine, The Atlantic, detailing his daily routine. Tucci captured that rare thing, authenticity on the internet, but he also had 2 fine pieces of screen work more or less in the can before pandemic struck. His CNN series, Searching for Italy, allowed him to give full expression to a love for food that had already spawned 2 cookbooks. There was Supernova, a two-hander with his old friend Colin Firth. Tucci plays Tusker, a novelist with dementia who decided to take a road trip through the Lake District with his partner Sam, a concert pianist. It's a poised, tender film which explores grand ideas about life, death, and love without forgetting to include a few jokes. Tucci is also surely the buffest novelist with dementia ever to appear on film as a topless scene the test. His sculpted torso, the result of a lifelong workout regime. If I go more than 24 hours without exercising, I go mad, he says. That's
like Tusker. Like Tusker, Tucci had morality on the mind. Stan the Negroni master is only half of the story. I love to have fun, but I'm not the most relaxed guy, he says. I'm not a good sleeper. I always have way too much on my mind.
For sure.
He reveals that 3 years ago, he was diagnosed with a tumor at the base of his tongue. It was too big to operate, so they had to do high-dose radiation and chemo, he says. I vowed I'd never do anything like that because my first wife died of cancer, and to watch her go through those treatments for years was horrible. After what he'd endured with Kate, he was particularly scared about what the illness might mean for his family. The kids were great, but it was hard for them, he says. I had a feeding tube for 6 months. I could barely make it to the twins' high school graduation. 3 years later, this cancer is unlikely to come back, he says, touching wood on both hands. With both hands. I guess that's knocking on wood.
Yeah, touching wood. Yeah.
Okay.
Same expression.
Cancer makes you more afraid and less afraid at the same time. I feel much older than I did before I was sick, but you still want to get ahead and get things done.
There's plenty lined up. He has another book out in October, A Memoir Through Food. He says, I wasn't sure if I could write enough about food, but I think people are interested in catering on sets and how to depict food. Big Night, the 1996 film that he wrote, directed, and starred in, is a rarity, a brilliant movie about restaurants. Food is hard to do well on screen, Tucci says. I think what made Big Night work is that it's about failure. Food movies are always about success. Who cares about success? It's much more interesting to watch somebody fail. Then I can connect with them.
I think that's such an actor's, line.
Sure, yeah, but also I think it's a writer's kind of thing as well.
Yeah. Then there's The King's Man, the latest installment in the Kingsman series, the franchise built upon Firth. More CNN food series are planned for the first time in his life. Tucci feels in control. It's exciting, he says. As an actor, you go through so many ups and downs. There's so many periods where you're like, I have a house and all these children. How come I don't have a job? Even with the start of the pandemic, I was like, why am I still waiting? 4 decades after he started out, Tucci's waiting days just might be over. Cheers to that.
Cheers indeed.
I didn't know he was going to be in the new Kingsman. In the King's Man.
Yeah.
Makes sense. He was
Didn't
just
it already come out? I can't remember. It might have gotten delayed because of the pandemic.
It makes sense, though, with being in Firth in this last film. I feel like that's how he sort of operates. He's in a film with someone and they're like, hey, want to be in my next movie? And he's like, sure, sounds great.
I mean, I think he makes an impact, if as soon as he's on your brain, he's immediately perfect for any movie that you have,
Right.
It's like, what do you need him for? He can do it.
He's like that perfect pop song earworm that it's not number 1, but it sits solidly at number 10 for months,
So I believe this was actually the first place where he reported that he had tongue cancer.
Yeah.
And, that can be detrimental for an actor, especially if it leads to problems with speaking. I mean, that's, that's part of what happened with Val Kilmer.
Mm-hmm.
He had mouth and throat cancer, I believe. And it made it very difficult for him to talk for a long time. And it, really hurt his ability to act. So,
right.
I mean, we're all really glad that Tucci is healthy right now, but I mean, that's scary.
He's out of the woods. For sure. Stay strong, Tucci.
Yep.
This is a bummer way to end.
Yeah, next time we'll have some more Tucci for you. Don't worry, it's still coming. There's still plenty to go.
And just remember, bad Balls, adrenaline, direction.
Balls, attitude, direction.
Attitude, direction. Attitude,
All right.
direction.
See y'all later.
Bye.